China's first fifth-generation stealth fighter, the J-20, has some big news. They are ramping up production when it comes to the J-20. Now, this comes from a source, Allcon Intel. Suggest you check them out on Instagram. Shout out to Cam for pointing this specific post out to me. Always good to have those point outs there. But the Chengdu Aircraft Corporation, which produces the J-20, they have announced that they have more than doubled the component production efficiency for the J-20. I'll read that as they haven't necessarily increased the size, although the J-20 production plant has increased in size over the years, which is to be expected. But they've made some improvements when it comes to the efficiency of making the jet. Specifically, they're running airframe lines in near total darkness with autonomous vehicles and AI-driven machinery, where 2 or 3 workers on rotation used to be needed. So cutting down on the people and relying on the robots to make the machines. So this story is presented as a manufacturing breakthrough, as well as a public statement of capability addressing audiences outside of China. Of note, China has over 300 J-20s in service today. With these numbers, it is anticipating that China will hit over 1,000 J-20s by the year 2030. So we'll dive into what that means a little bit later in the video. But first, a walk down memory lane. I did not know this, but at the time, Secretary Robert Gates, he visited China in 2011. It just so happened that the maiden flight of the J-20, surprise, occurred on the exact same day he visited China. Definitely a statement of power. And for those of you who don't necessarily remember who Secretary Gates is, well, he is the Secretary of Defense that is most responsible for the termination of the F-22 program. Now, I'll link this article down below. It's actually by Paco, who's been a guest on the podcast several times, and he runs the Merge newsletter, which is a great newsletter. Encourage you to check that out. So Secretary Gates, his reasoning, at least in 2008, was the F-22 had no place in wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Paco's take here, this contention dismisses the notion that the U.S. military should prepare for wars of necessity, the ones that can literally change our way of life and destroy our nation, and focus instead on wars of choice that, while long and expensive, are not existential. So you have near-peer adversary threats versus counterinsurgency wars. Obviously, the F-22, not really a necessity when we're talking about counterinsurgencies. However, we're talking about near peers. I think every fighter pilot, strategist, intel officer, you name it, really wishes we had more F-22s. Now let's compare the production size, compare the aircrafts, etc. Fun fact for me, I actually got to visit the F-22 line when I was in high school. You can see the picture up on the screen here. Now the F-22 line at its max peak produced 20 jets in 1 year. In my mind, in seeing this photo, the production line was pretty small. Obviously, it can produce several F-22s at a time. I think it had 4 or 5. And then we look at this picture, I see 4 aircraft, maybe 5 aircraft on the production line. Someone who's a viewer or listener can chime in with probably a little bit more accurate data. But moral of the story is the F-22 line was not that big of a production line. And then if we look at the production line of the F-35, it's a mile long. You can see dozens and dozens of F-35 fuselages going through the assembly line. I walked the production line several years ago. Again, I'm going off my memory. Vastly different in size when we look at the F-22 line versus the F-35 line. In 2025, the F-35 line produced 191 F-35s. Now, this went across 19 different nations. We got some coalition building that goes on there. Now, the J-20, there's not a lot of information that is out there in the public sphere when it comes to what the production line looks like of the J-20, et cetera. But this is coming from satellite imagery that's been assessed, saying that the production facility, the original one, was down here in the south. And then in mid-2022, up in the northeast portion, assuming the map is north-oriented here, you have the new production line with a potential third production facility that had broken ground. From a logical standpoint, this seems pretty practical. You have a small factory that develops a prototype, it gets proven, it gets selected, and then you have the gradual buildup of the program itself. Remember, the F-16 used to be produced in Fort Worth on that F-35 line. It was an F-16 line. The F-35 took it over as it ramped up, and the F-16 line actually moved to Greenville, South Carolina. So increasing production size, building new facilities, etc. Not something that is uncommon when we talk about going from the infancy of fighter jet production to its mature stage. So it just seems like the J-20 is moving through that line. Now, when it comes to the capability of the J-20, there are 4 variants of the J-20, the A, the B, and the S variant. It is a stealth air superiority fighter. The Chinese call it the Mighty Dragon. The NATO designation is the Fengen. It's roughly the same size as the F-22. It's a little bit larger. From what we know and what's been released, comparable when it comes to any other type fighter jets, being a Mach 2 fighter. Has a service ceiling, according to the Mitchell Institute, of 65,000 feet and can carry a variety of armament. We have seen it flying around in the beast mode, which is a dirty configuration. The argument might be that if you can shoot missiles from a really, really, really long way away, you don't necessarily have to be stealth. But it does have internal missile storage capacity. And, the kicker here, carrying the PL-15 right now. The Chinese are developing additional missiles. The PL-15 popped up in Operation Sindor. We've talked about it multiple times on this channel. But really long, beyond visual range shots with the PL-15 in open source. Again, upwards of 125 miles, plus with some claims being upwards of 160 or so miles, which is not insignificant. That's why you can fly around in beast mode. If you have a really long stick, so to speak, you can reach out and touch your adversary. Now, an interesting Warzone article actually had a remote Chinese airbase with what appeared to be J-20 decoys sitting on the ramp. They want to say that they didn't know what the actual reasoning was for these. Obviously, the Chinese aren't going to say what they are. But the funny part, at least to me, is the fact that these things look pretty close, but they're not close at all. So why these would be almost like J-20s and not an exact replica, the Chinese obviously would be able to produce a decoy that looks exactly like a J-20 versus close to it. So maybe it was trying to bolster what the production capacity of the J-20 was. Maybe there is some hidden plane out there that we don't quite know about yet. Remember, the Chinese did unveil numerous new aircraft prototypes, the J-36, the J-50, all flying within a matter of a couple days of each other. So not insignificant of itself. So what does the production capacity actually mean for the J-20? I think discounting it as a Temu fighter is a mistake. Maybe its quality isn't there. I won't discount that fact. But if it's even a fraction of what they claim to be, it's still a piece of metal. It can still carry missiles. It can still reach out and touch you. The argument of quantity is a quality all of in itself. So even if it isn't a full-up round compared to the capacity and the capability of the F-35 or the F-22, it's still something you have to deal with if it comes to an aerial engagement. Also, I think it's unwise to discount it as a piece of junk or a piece of FOD because the Chinese have iterated, they have learned, they've gotten a few shortcuts along the way by learning from others, if you will, but they're able to iterate and they're able to produce some indigenous technology that is pretty good in and of itself. We will not know what the full capability is of the J-20. Just like sitting here on YouTube, we're not talking about the full capability of the F-35 or the F-22. So it is all speculation, and anyone who says anything different is telling you a lie. But just the ability to ramp up production in a matter of a few years is a testament to the capability and the technology and just how far the Chinese have come when it comes to producing aircraft indigenously. Remember, China joined the ranks of nations with 2 stealth fighters with the induction of the J-35, with both an Air Force and a naval variant, and that is one they are pushing as an export 5th-generation fighter, which looks like Pakistan might be the first customer, with claims of delivering that to Pakistan this year. We talked in the last video, that to me would be a litmus test of the J-35 program and overall health just of the production capability of the Chinese aerospace industry if they're able to start delivering a new 5th-generation stealth fighter to a partner nation in the matter of a year. So there you have it, the J-20, increasing production. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Again, we'll see all the Temu comments, but I think that is a mistake when we're talking about the J-20 and discounting the capability, the potential capability of this jet. So let me know your thoughts down below. I'll see you next time.